The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
This is the season premiere, the series premiere of the BROLIN Alley. This is Jeff Lane. I am like the 17th or 18th co-host that this man has had. And I'm going to bring him in right now. You can see him right there.
17 or 18?
Something like that, right?
Slight exaggeration, but we have gone through some in the last few months. There's no doubt about that. And speaking of co-host, Vince Russo is supposed to be here for the season premiere of the BROLIN Alley. I changed the name of this damn show for him. It was going to be the Bolin Alley, season 13, and then I thought I would tease the fans a little bit and say, well, I don't think the Bolin Alley is a good fit for Russo, and I don't think we're going to work with him under the Bolin Alley name. We're not going to do that. And then we show up a week or two later as the BROLIN Alley. And that was done for him. And he promised me faithfully that he would be here tonight. And he's going to introduce me to the Realm Network and the Podcast One people. And I did the Podcast One. And it's out there right now. People are seeing it all over the place. Me and you and Vito Lagrassi, right? Is that his name?
Yep, Vito Lagrasso, Big Vito, getting colored.
Vito Lagrassi. I thought they named a dance after him or something. Doing the Vito Lagrassi. I'm sure that's a big dance and a hit. I think one of those Latino singers and dancers did it. I can't think of his name right now. So where's Vince? He's supposed to be here. I know you can put 10 people in these boxes here on Google Hangouts, and a Lost fan, huh? That caught my attention. I don't see Vince. Where's Vince?
Vince is under the weather. He's been dealing with vertigo for this past week, and I guess it caught up with him again when he was out in Colorado looking at a house, and so he's just been under the weather all day, I guess.
Davis used to pull that crap, telling everybody to get out of work. And you mean to tell me that I don't mean to blow my own horn or anything, but who better knows the tune? Kenny StarMaker Bolin, the man who runs through hosting networks like X-Lax through a widow woman, is here tonight. Season premiere, series premiere. Vince Russo, The Brand.
Vince Russo's The Brand.
The owner of this network, the big deal on Podcast One. I do a favor for him and fill in for him. Y'all told me I was going to be on 10 minutes with Vito.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Took care of that crap, didn't we? When you got a big star on, so you got into this business to interview big stars and be a big deal in the television and podcast industry. And here you were doing it, and you think you were going to have me on for 10 minutes? The man who's been doing podcasts longer than anybody in podcasting history. Certainly longer than anybody in pro wrestling podcasting history. This is 13 years. You can't name me another guy that's been doing it 13 years. You can't name me another person that has over 1 billion downloads certified. And that don't count me guest hosting on all these countless of some hundreds of thousands of other shows of people that have podcast hosts. That's just me. That's just my shows with 1 billion downloads. And then Vince Russo. Number one, he slapped me in the face twice now because we'll get slap number one out of the way first.
All right.
Vince Russo, I heard him on Podcast One, giving me the big introduction, letting everybody know that they could see the StarMaker and the BROLIN Alley coming up on tonight, September 13th. And I'm going to give everybody a big scoop. We recorded this on 9/11, but we didn't want to air it on 9/11 out of respect. And also, we didn't want to be the biggest disaster recorded on that day. So that way we'll be the second biggest disaster if this show don't get over. But he acted like that only people in Kentucky knew me. Did you hear this? Did you hear this, Jeff?
A lot of you out there, if you're not from, the Kentucky area, the Ohio Valley area, if you're not from that area, regional, wrestling, you might not know Kenny Bolin.
Kenny Bolin, those of you outside of Kentucky, Kenny Bolin, and then he gives a little history and talks about John Cena and all that. And he acts like, after 13 years in the podcast business, after the man that created John Cena, Mark Henry, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, If you can even throw in Dolph Ziggler there if you want, Mike Mondo of the Spirit Squad. You throw in all these people that I've created and made big stars out of, and he doesn't think anybody knows me. Now, who's he trying to fool? He recruited me for a reason. He knew that I was going to be the big dog on this network. He realized that I was going to bring a lot of attention here, and that the downloads and the ratings, every post I see, Bolin equals money. This is big money. Everything's big money to Vince Russo. So big money shows up ready to do a job, and he's clutching to vertigo as a reason. Well, all he's got to do is sit in his chair. If he's dizzy, he grabs his desk like that, and he'll be just fine. So I'm not going to accept vertigo as excuse. You know why I don't think Vince Russo's here tonight?
Why is that?
A bit intimidated that the StarMaker, it might overshine him just a little bit. He maybe the attention to be a little bit more on me than it is. If you don't think he's that type of guy, do you? I thought Vince was my friend. I've lost friends because of Vince Russo. Well, technically because of me, but over Vince Russo. Let's phrase it for what it is. Over Vince Russo. Right now, I should be the best friend in the world Vince Russo's got.
That's
and
right.
he can't be here tonight to premiere with me on his network, where I left 2 or 3 other hosts here recently. Poor old Harry over there in England. And then we left that guy, that Cronin guy that was a big mark, likes to wear his hat backwards and sit in the front row on WWE shows. And then, of course, we had Brian last place who fired me 43 minutes after we quit. I've had some problems with some hosts. Don't think in one moment that I won't walk off this set right now and I'll go work for one of these punk kids around here in Louisville, Kentucky that has podcasts that wants to elevate their show, because that's what I do. I elevate shows. If you want to talk about the 5 highest rated shows that Jimmy Cornette had, I had 5 of the top 6. You know the only guy to beat me? I'll tell you who it is. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
He's the only guy, not Jim Ross, not Rip Rogers, not Lance Storm, not all the countless, some hundreds of thousands of guests he's had that ever beat me, that have more worldwide fame than me. I beat them because I'm the talented one. I'm the one who shoots straight. I'm the one that don't lie. I'm the one that don't screw people around, regardless of what my book says. And I'm taking that as a slap in the face that he doesn't think anybody knew who I was, and then he doesn't show up here tonight because he claims he's a little bit dizzy. Well, he's going to be dizzy if he don't show up at my next show, because we going to have some serious problems. I'm a big star in this business. I'm the man that does I'm the one that put podcasting on the map when it comes to the wrestling podcast. And not only that, I talk about religion, I talk about politics, I talk about current events, and I'll talk about your mother if you want me to, and I don't even know the lady. I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. No subjects off limits with me. I don't have anybody I'm trying to get a job with. I don't care who I offend. And what was it, Vito show last night? We love everybody. We don't want to talk smack on anybody. We don't want any heat. We don't want any problems. Well, how in the hell are you going to run a successful podcast that way? Do you remember when I started at Who's Slamming Who? Of course you don't. You're a young punk, barely in the business, don't even know anything about what I used to do. Well, I'll educate you a little bit. There was a podcast series called Who's Slamming Who, and it had the greats. It had the Iron Sheik. It had John Cena's dad. It had Lanny Poffo, and it had all these great big name wrestlers. But you know what? The show was called Who's Slamming Who, and nobody was talking any smack to anybody. Well, guess what I did when I got on the show? I said, well, we're going to make this show earn its name, and I'm going to talk about all the dirt I know on these people, and I'm going to bury these people, but I'm going to do it with facts. I'm not going to make anything up. Anything I say will be the truth. And then the fans caught on to that. Yeah, Bolin's talking smack on the Iron Sheik. Bolin's talking smack on Lanny Poffo. Bolin's pissed off Randy Macho Man Savage. Well, good. I told the truth. And I even understand my old buddy Jimmy Cornette's a little upset with me right now because of me and my son and some things that have been said since our friendship dissolved a few months ago. Well, we haven't said anything that ain't a lie. He hasn't even accused us of lying. He was just mad some things got brought up to public. Well, I guess I'm sorry about that. But you're the one that ended our friendship. You're the one that didn't want to be friends anymore because I wanted to remain friends with Vince Russo. We're both trying to use each other. We're both trying to milk each other's followers. Vince Russo's got 10 times as many followers as I got. So and he'd be a fool trying to get mine, and I don't need his. I got more than I can handle right now anyway. Matter of fact, I'd like a lot of you to go away so I can get some sleep at night. You're starting to irritate me. So here you are. You're in here in the business to talk to big stars in the podcast business, and you ain't hardly said a word. So why don't you start doing some talking, unlike you did last night, because I told you to shut up for an hour and we'd have a great show, and you actually did it. I didn't think you'd listen to me, but you did, and I appreciate it. So why not, for the first time since you've known me, why don't you say something in that little, you got a microphone over there? What do you got? A $10 set of earbuds over there?
Yes,
well,
I don't know if you
you got the Blue Yeti, huh?
You got the Yeti, yes.
You fooled me. I thought you sitting over there with a $10 set of earbuds and an $8 microphone. I was getting ready to get you set up with my deal over here. You realize I got 8 of these, don't you?
Yeah, I know. That's pretty cool.
Microphones around here. But for some reason, I seem to rub people the wrong way. I can't get 7 guests to sit in here with me. I'm wired for it. I'm equipped for it. I could have them all right here right now. But you know what? They're a little intimidating. Oh, we can't get a word in edgewise. Can you imagine that? They're saying
I can't imagine that at all.
Edgewise when I'm talking. That blows me the hell away. I can't believe that. I'll let anybody talk. I'll even let you. But you're going to have, well, you got the Blue Yeti. Let people see the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti's an expensive microphone. Show that bad boy off. What was it? Yeah, I heard. You said Vince Russo said, well, you're too loud. You know what? He don't want to hear your voice at all. He just wants you to sit there, push buttons, edit, and program direct. And he don't want you talking. And if you say anything at all, he thinks you're talking too loud. I have every confidence of that. You go ahead with me, son. You talk about anything you want. Speak up whenever you like. Show that Blue Yeti microphone. Be proud of it. It ain't one of mine. It ain't one of my 8. It's not the Bolin Media microphones, but it's a good start.
What's the deal with those microphones? I heard they're big sellers.
I sell them, don't they? As a matter of fact, I need to thank my old buddy, Vince Russo, who couldn't take the time out of his busy schedule to be here tonight. I need to thank Vince Russo for these because I used to do microphones like you, sitting there with an $8 pair of earbuds and a $10 microphone that apparently you got. I bet that Blue Yeti don't even work. I bet you got that at a flea market somewhere. It's probably inactive. You probably got an $8 microphone sitting there. And you showed that one, making everybody think you're talking. That's a good-looking microphone. I like the Blue Yeti. I got no problem with that. But I don't think it works.
See the light on if I hold it at the right angle. You can see the light. The
light's on. So the electricity's working. Does the mic work? Speak into it. Let me see, because I don't think it is.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Oh, yeah, that's loud. You should quit the business.
Yes, I should.
A horrible voice and a horrible microphone.
Well, speaking of people not showing up, Kenny, because I honestly. I wonder what the odds are that
Vince Russo, the man that owns the network,
who's probably watching Monday Night Football. Honestly, I bet you that's what
I've got it on in the background, but I'm going to DVR it and I'll catch it later.
Yeah, but we were supposed to have 2 more people on this show tonight.
Oh, we are. Where are they?
Yes, that's what we've been advertising heavily.
Oh, yeah, you're pulling the old bride last. The old thing that got Brian last fired. You're looking not to last long around here, too. You really don't think I'll walk, do you? You really think because y'all dangle that Realm Network and that Podcast One stuff in front of me, you don't think I'll walk? And now you're trying to bury the kids. That's what got Brian last fired, burying my kids.
I actually like those guys, and I was looking forward to having them on the show. So I'm a little bummed.
You like the Prince and the Doodle? They're good.
Absolutely,
people.
Yes. They seem like good people. Yes.
They try to be. They're both very smart people. They don't mind letting you know about it. They claim they're smarter than me, but I think we've proven tonight that just might not be.
So where are they at? Where are they at tonight?
Well, the Prince is he's a high-paid executive at a local university here, and that is how they. But he works the night shift, and that is how he got the scholarships for him and his wife. And I can't mention the university because it's top secret. You're not allowed to talk about it. It's part of the deal. And he needed some sleep. And I said, you know what? I got this. They only need me for 35 minutes. Yeah, my ass. 35 minutes is how long they think this show is going to go tonight. And I tell you what, I can do a podcast in my sleep and cover 35 minutes. So I'm not worried about that at all. And the Maya Doodle, well, I think she wanted to go out and eat with her friends. So she had an important night planned. And I said, you know what, Maya Doodle, you're worried about me. But everybody thinks I'm mad. Everybody thinks I'm on edge. Everybody thinks I get upset easy. And she was scared to tell me she was going to go ahead and do the show. I said, Maya Doodle, go out and play with your friends. Go out and play with your little girlfriends. Bring them back if you don't mind. But, go out and play with them. And the Prince is sleeping. And they promised me they'll be here for our next show in 2 weeks. What's the date on that? You got a date? You got a calendar handy?
Yeah, it should be the 27th, September 27th.
Should be or will be. Don't confuse the people, man. Should be or will be.
It will be.
It will be. There you go. See, I like confidence in a young man.
Yeah,
you do
September
realize
27th.
I fired one guy because he wore his hat backwards. Do you realize how close that hat is to being backwards? Are you left-handed? Are you left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed. I used to wear a hat backwards on this show.
You better not ever wear your hat backwards when I'm on this show. If you want to do that with Vince Russo and Vito and Miss Chantel and all, and didn't Miss Chantel just make a lovely video for me? Have you seen that?
I have, and I believe it's at the beginning of this episode. We're going to say that. I'm going to assume that I'll have it by the time this airs, and it's at the beginning of the show. So.
You've screwed enough up here today, not having Russo.
Screw everything up. Yeah, I screw everything up.
My kids, and they didn't know what to be on the show tonight. So you've caused enough trouble for one day. So don't you ever show up here with your hat backwards, as there's going to be some serious problems. I've already fired one moron for wearing his hat backwards, looking like a fool, getting on WWE television, waving his hands and trying to draw attention to himself, telling everybody he's going to be a broadcaster on Raw or SmackDown. What a fool. What an idiot. He embarrassed me, and I had to fire the boy. I had to fire him on the Jim Cornette experience. That's what I did. I fired him there because I knew he listened. I said, well, good. I'll just fire him there, and he'll realize not to show up for work anymore. And that's how I got rid of him. So what show am I going to do when I fire you, Jeff Lane? Don't make me start calling you Jeff Lane, because all my hosts get another name. So don't be Jeff Lane. You don't want to be that guy. You're in the presence of royalty. Don't you see the crown? You're in the presence of royalty. You're in the presence of a man who is the self-proclaimed king of podcasts, the kingpin of podcasts. And not only self-proclaimed, but everyone else proclaims it too. And even your boss, Vince Russo, who didn't have the guts to come here and sit beside me tonight and introduce me to his market, he calls me the king too. And he knows Jerry the King Lawler. Well, there's one king in Louisville, son, and that's me. I've been here longer than him. I've sold more tickets here than him, and I didn't do it at a movie theater. I did it at box office, and I didn't stand out in the parking lot and hand out tickets and beg people to come to see me. I entertained the people. I educated the people. I smartened them up, and they bought a ticket to get smarter about the wrestling business. The same way we're going to do things right here. I'm going to smarten you up to how things go in the wrestling business, and I'm going to let Jeff Lane here helps me. But if he turns that hat just an eighth of an inch another direction, he might get fired right here tonight.
That'd be entertaining.
I think I won't do it.
That'd be entertaining.
It would be.
Yes.
I'm losing my breath. You should help, man. You should help me talk, man.
I know. I may have to fire myself if you lose your voice. I'll have to fire myself.
Have you ever seen a 60-year-old man with hair this gorgeous? I bet you have.
I would have never guessed you were 60.
I'm almost 60. And look at Russo. He accused me of dyeing my hair. He didn't think my hair was real. He thought I was like a lot of guys in the wrestling business that worry and stress out a lot. I don't worry. I don't get stressed. I know I'm the best at what I do. I got nothing to worry about. I'm set for life because you know why? I'm smart with my money. And I don't go out and blow all my money on multi-million-dollar homes and all the what. Well, I do live in a $1 million home, but I didn't pay for it. A sponsor covered it for me. And when you're smart, you use other people's money, not your own money. And that's why people give me a hard way to go. Well, Bolin, if he ever opened his wallet, a bunch of moths would fly out. Well, I hope so, because I don't open it often. And when I do open it, it's maybe for something I really, really like a Big Mac. For whatever reason, McDonald's won't trade with me. Is that a shame or what? I can eat at any restaurant in this town free of charge, but McDonald's won't trade with me. So I don't eat as many Big Macs as I'd like. We all got problems, Jeff Lane. We all have problems.
We do. Well, Kenny, we do have a lot of young listeners on our show. Some of our listeners, they never even watched
those. We got young Asian ladies, about 18 or up.
I don't know. That's debatable.
Let's look into that.
Yes, but some of our listeners, some of our
the Philippines are listening tonight because they love the king in the Philippines. The Asian girls love me, and we got at least 5 or 6 listening in tonight. I won't mention them all by name. Thelma, Nessa, Lena, Kimmy, Jenny, a couple others.
Well,
how you doing, girls?
Yeah, some of our brand members, they hadn't even seen the Attitude Era until they found this show. So there's a lot of young fans out there.
That's young people without internet skills is what that is.
Yep, but they, a lot of them, they found Vince this way. They got to go back and watch a lot of that stuff. So you mentioned Cena and Lesnar and all these names that you had a lot to do with. So for the people that maybe don't know that story, set them straight.
Well, I was the manager of the developmental territory of called Ohio Valley Wrestling. That was the developmental territory for the WWE. And back when we first started, Memphis had a developmental territory. Cincinnati had one. Texas had one. California had one. And there might have been a couple others in there. But slowly but surely, they all faded away, and there was one left standing. And guess where that was? That was the place that had a manager called Kenny, at that time, the King Bolin. I hadn't earned the name StarMaker yet. Oh, Jimmy Cornette gave me that name. And I appreciated that because people have been calling me the King since I was 14 years old. Jerry Lawler stole that name from me. We've talked about it. I've confronted him about it on his podcast, Dinner with the Kings. And that led to me being arrested and beat up by the Memphis police. But we'll talk about that another day. Lawler and I are trying to patch that up. And I think we're real close to doing it. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to reinstate me to their restaurants any day now. Time went by. Wrestlers were sent to the WWE that were all managed by me. Bull Buchanan, Mark Henry, Sean O'Hare, Rico Constantino, John Cena, a few others. And then all of a sudden we get to where it comes to Lance Cade and Mark Jindrak. They're wanting to get called up too. And they said, King, can you get me there? I said, well, if you sign with me, yes, I can get you there. I can get anybody to the WWE, including Mike Mondo. And then I get Mike Mondo and I send him to the WWE. You know, everybody laughed. Everybody said he's never going to see a day on OVW television, more or less WWE TV. Well, guess what? I got him there. So then it comes to Cade and Jindrak. And Cornette said to me, he says, I bet you $1,000 that you cannot get those two in the WWE. And it ain't so much Cade's fault, it's Jindrak's fault. Jindrak's so bad that they won't even look at Cade because of him. And I said, well, I bet you I can. And I'll tell you what, I'll have them there within nine weeks. 9 weeks was the limit. I want you to know that 3 weeks later, they got a call. They were called up to the WWE, and I'm scheduled to do an interview in the ring to talk about an upcoming tag title match that Jindrak and Cade had against a couple of locals there at OVW. Well, I don't have a match because I don't have two wrestlers that have the belts anymore. They have now been called up. So when I got in the ring, I got a big grin on my face. I said, well, I'd love to talk to you about Cade and Jindrak, but they're not here right now. Do you care to tell the people, Jimmy, where they are? Oh, yeah. Bolin's bragging because he's got Cade and Jindrak called up. I said, yeah, I told you I was going to get them called to the WWE, didn't I? And I said, you looked at me like I had a smoking turd in my mouth, right? You did. And then Jimmy starts laughing on the air. And then he tells me after the show that no one had ever said, to his knowledge, smoking turd on television except me. And I was very proud of that. So I made Jimmy laugh on live television because he lost it when I said smoking turd hanging out of your mouth. And then he referred to me. Here he is, the old StarMaker. Everybody Bolin touches turns to gold. And it got to be true. And eventually I sent 54 men to the WWE. And even relatedly sent Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, and Batista because they were in huge feuds with me. Even Simon Dean, as bad as he was, and as big an irritant as he was, and as bad as everybody hated him and said he wasn't any good and he wasn't qualified to be in WWE television, through feuding with me and John Cena, we even got him called up. So that just tells you how great I am right there. I even got one guy called up in one day. He was... I'm blanking out on his name. I think he is a self-professed gay wrestler, young black man. And he was more known in TNA, and I'm blanking out on his name.
Orlando Jordan?
Orlando Jordan. And he was, and if he's not gay, I certainly apologize, but I heard that he's pretty open about it. And but he got called up in one day, and boy, the legend really grew then. They put Jordan with me one day, and the next day he was called up. That's pretty good. That's the Midas touch right there, son. So that's pretty much how I became known as the StarMaker, and sent 54 men to the WWE. The last person I sent would be The Miz. The Miz, I believe, would be the last one.
So how did that work?
They were the last two.
You get a call from JR or whoever was talent relations and say, look, we need somebody, and you give the recommendation.
Oh, no, that would have given me too much credit. That would have given me credibility. That would have given me the all the acknowledgement and accolades that I deserved. No, they would call Cornette and Danny Davis, who were not traveling up and down the roads with the wrestlers, who weren't going over with them with their promos, who wasn't coming up with angles and ideas in the car, doing 3, 6, and 9 hour round trips together. They took all the credit for that. I got little, if any, credit whatsoever. But if you want the truth, and a man who might even be as honest, if not more honest, than Vince Russo is, I should think of his name, Rico Constantino. He's going to shoot me for not being able to come up with his name instantly. But probably my very best friend there is right now, being as my other one decided he didn't want to be my friend anymore. So that's okay. He made that choice, not me. And Rico, let's face it, is one of the best people I know. He is a class act. He's been in law enforcement for the better part of 30 years. He lives to help people, and that's my kind of people. We talked about that last night on Vito's show, and I think it was my show, but Vito, his name's on it. That'll change. And the thing is that I like to hang with people who are like me, people who like to help people who are less fortunate than them. I'm not much on helping people who are fully capable of helping themselves and elect not to, but there are many out there who just don't have the resources. And they don't have to be on disability. They don't have to be a certain race. It could just be they're down on their luck. Everything they're trying just ain't panning out. But all I got to see is that you're trying. And if you're trying, I want to help you any way I can. And I'm far from rich, guys, but I know a lot of rich people. And so between the two of us, with me getting out there and doing the work, and my son and my daughter-in-law, we do as much as we can to help as many people as we can. And also we're known for being big animal lovers, and we do everything we can to help the animals. It seems like I take in about 12 strays a year. And if I don't give them a home, I find them a home. And I'm well known for that as well. So all kidding aside, that's the type of people I like to hang with.
Was there anybody that didn't get the call that you were like this person definitely needs to go, and for whatever reason they didn't take him and you felt it was a huge mistake?
One that didn't make it to the level I thought would be Sylvester Turkey. But Turkey was just such a natural fighter because that's what he had done in Japan, and he worked real stiff. And there's a lot of wrestlers that didn't care for that. And I think that shortened his career in the WWE. And you talk about another guy with a heart of gold. A man, a very Christian, and I'm an atheist. And it's amazing how many Christian friends I have. You wouldn't think we would get along. We have two entirely different perspectives on life and how we got here and how we're going to go. But many of my best friends are preachers. It shocks even me, to be honest with you, because normally preachers aren't too much on hanging out with known atheists. And I've been one since I was 11 years old. But that's just my belief. I've told many people when they're going through crisis and I see them putting out the calls for prayers and this, that, and the other, like, hey, you know what? I'm not much of the prayer guy, but my thoughts are with you. And when all this pans out, I hope you're right. Now, I hope there is a God, and I hope he does everything you think he's going to do. I'm just not on that wagon. I've been in the hospital 2 or 3 times where they thought I was going to die. There was a couple of times they sent a chaplain to my room, and I said, well, why are you here? Well, we want to know if you'd like for us to be here. Do you have any last wishes if anything doesn't go right with this surgery? And I was, well, you know, I'd be a bit hypocritical. I haven't been on that wagon since I was 11 years old, and I just feel it'd be very hypocritical if I'd be on that wagon now. So no, there's nothing for you to do here. I appreciate it. And somehow, some way, even though I'm an atheist, I pulled through those things 3 times and probably doing better now in my life than I've been in quite some time. So.
How do you make that decision at 11 years old, though? That seems like
through the surroundings that I was in. I'm watching all these bad things happen to good people, and I'm watching good people who just keep getting by with just horrible things. And I'm thinking, what God would let this happen? And I'd pray to find my baseball, and I'd never find it. Well, why didn't God help me find my baseball? And basically, it was that simple. God didn't help me find my baseball. So I held a grudge about it. And I still do. I never did find any of those baseballs.
Like, what are you doing now besides being the king of podcasts? Like, why did you stop doing what you were doing with OVW? Like, do you have any itch to get back to doing it, or?
No, there's a couple of things that led to that. One, I didn't like the direction that OVW was going in. Our contracts were over with WWE. We had a contract with TNA, and that got faded away. And that was mainly due to one person that was there that they didn't like. They didn't like the training techniques. So they went away. And of course, with TNA, I don't know where they found the money to pay us that anyway. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe that's why they went away. How a company that doesn't profit $1 in its history pays anybody, I don't know. Well, I do know. It was Dixie's dad. Well, he got tired of that program, I guess. I mean, you lose so damn much money, it's time to cut bait, and that's what he did. So how anybody thinks they can take that and make money with it is beyond me. I know Vince was there for a while. He's seen it from the inside. Cornette's back down there again. Apparently, people were upset about that. I understand that Jeff Jarrett has been shown the door, and the people that were financially backing it are wanting out already. And I used to tease Jimmy about he was the company killer, and well, he may have made a record on this one because he's down there for one show, and the people that finance everybody's checks is wanting out. And the guy that brought him down there, Jeff Jarrett, is gone. So I don't know. Maybe Jimmy's bad luck. I mean, I don't believe in bad luck. You know why I don't believe? My mother always said it's bad luck to be superstitious. So that's why I was never superstitious.
Write that down.
My mother told me.
Yeah.
What was the original part of that question? I'm sure I haven't answered it in full yet.
Do you have an itch to get back?
Left. So the direction the company was going in, I wasn't happy with. Not happy at all. I left. Many others left after me. My son ended up leaving a few weeks after me. I swore I would never be back due to how angry I was about how some things were being done there. And then it got worse even after I left. And then the two top dogs of the company refused to help Rico Constantino when he was in a very bad way in a time of need. And they refused to help him. So I blocked them on all social media. I wrote them out of my life, and I don't deal with any of them anymore. I made a little video acting like I was going to torch this bitch down the OVW arena. I hadn't been in that parking lot in nearly 6 years. So I showed Maya where I used to do my thing and manage Cena and The Miz and all the greats that are up there in the WWE right now, Mark Henry. And we just made a little short, funny video. No, I'm not going to burn OVW down. I'm not an arsonist. But if someone else does it, no, I can't do that either. Can't do that. I can't be promoting someone to do such a thing. I don't think you can burn that metal box down anyway, to be honest with you. So don't even bother trying. It ain't worth it. So I left and then got into but I've been in podcasting ever since I was with OVW. And I didn't really talk too much smack on OVW then, even though I could have. But they were supplying the source of me being on television and getting a paycheck. And there's only so far you can push that envelope. But once I left, and then I had nobody to answer to, the podcast really started even doing much better. We went from averaging 40 or 50,000 downloads per month to where it got to be when I had Russo on the show. He set our record for a 30-day period, according to Harry Barnett's numbers that he screenshotted and sent me, that the highest rated show we ever did was 177,000 in 30 days. Now, of course, that eventually went way on beyond those numbers, but for 30 days, we got 177,000 downloads. Well, the most downloads we'd ever seen before them was like 50 some odd thousand. So that's what Vince Russo brought to the Bolin Alley. And I was told that that my appearances on his shows did real well as well, but we were never told what those numbers were. I was going somewhere with this. I've talked so damn much. I'm forgetting all the words that are coming out of my mouth. Where was I going with this? Oh, so after 13 years of doing podcast, I don't have to leave my home. I can do it right here. It's nice and easy. I don't have to go on the road, even though we are going to this year. We're going to start doing the dinner with the BROLIN Club. We're going to do those once a month. The people that highly opinionated are going to be doing those with us. They own a few restaurants, and we're going to be guests in the restaurants. It's going to be a nice little payday for the family, and wrestling fans can come normally for free, and they're welcome to buy shirts, books, DVDs. I got all that stuff here I'm going to show later when we wrap this up. How are we looking on time? Where are we at on time?
I think we're about 30 minutes in, plenty of time.
Oh, man, I could talk another 30 minutes.
So you mentioned, I want to, before I forget this, you briefly mentioned TNA, Impact, Now Global Force. Jarrett's out. Last week, they did their lowest viewership, 227,000 viewers.
Now, was Jimmy on that show too? Because I haven't seen one of them.
I didn't see that episode. I'm not sure if he was on there.
Well, that's the problem. Nobody's seeing these.
Yeah.
Even people that are friends with people on the show aren't seeing it. Jimmy upset me because he talked trash on them for God knows how long. And then he says he'll never set foot there. He'll never set foot in the WWE. He'll never return to OVW. He'll never befriend Triple H. He'll never speak to Stephanie. He'll never speak to Vince. He said all these things, and even Eric Bischoff, who he talked trash on for as long as I can remember, and he has mended every fence so he can get back apparently into the WWE or to get into the Hall of Fame for the Midnight Express, whatever his reasons are. But that bothers me. I said I'd never set foot in OVW again, and I didn't. And there's been opportunities to do so. But now that they've turned their back on Rico, well, they've turned their back on me when they do that. So I stand up for Rico, and I will never set foot in an OVW arena again, primarily because of that. But I had 2 or 3 other reasons even before we got to that. And I do know that there's going to be a fundraiser for Matt Cappotelli there. And there are some people wanting me there. I don't know if Danny Davis does or not. My guess is no, because they're probably scared of what I will say or do. I wouldn't mind being there for Matt, but I probably will not go because I think it will be a distraction from why the other people are there. But my thoughts will be with Matt Cappotelli, and I wish him the very best. And I'd like to be there for him, but I think it would be a distraction because I've made it very clear that I have no desire ever to set foot in that building again, even though I'm only one of 5 people that is in the OVW Hall of Fame, Hall of Honors, or whatever they call it. And from what I understand, my picture and plaque still hangs. And I don't know why, because I've been very open about how I feel about them. They may pull it down and burn it one day. I don't know. Maybe they'll torch my bitch. I don't know. But so
what's the deal with Rico? Is that something you can talk about, turning their back on Rico, or is that a private matter?
Yeah, he was in real bad shape, and he was close to death. I mean, he called my son and said, I don't know how to tell your dad this, but I don't think I have much longer to live, and I just want to make sure that everything's cool with your dad, and I want to make sure that me and your dad are best of friends. I want to die knowing that I'm your dad's best friend and that I love him, and I just wanted to let you know. So that really got my son upset. So my son told me before Rico did, and I was just destroyed for days before I could even pick up the phone and call Rico, but I felt I had to. And then when I talked to him, I knew he needed a lot of things. He needed medications that he wasn't getting. He needed food that he wasn't getting. He needed his bills paid because the police that he'd been working for had turned their back on him. He wasn't getting any money coming from anywhere. He hadn't made a dime in months. The WWE was doing nothing for him. So I put out the word that we got to raise Rico some money. So I set up an account for him on PayPal. Appealed to the fans to donate to help him out, and told him what all he needed. He needs a little bit of everything. And if he's going to live or have a fighting chance to live, he needs your help. We don't need anybody sending any great amount of money, but there's thousands of us out here that love Rico. And if we all just send a few dollars, we can really help Rico dramatically. Can we do that? And then another person set up a GoFundMe account, which at first I was concerned was a scam because I've already set up an account for Rico. What the hell is this about? Well, this guy had apparently contacted Rico on the side, and Rico gave him permission to do it. The only thing I didn't like about that is that GoFundMe gets about 10% of the money, which my program that I set up, he gets every single dime, and it would go straight into his bank account on that day. And so that was my only problem with that. And it did take Rico a little bit of time to get the money, but eventually he got it minus the 8 or 10% or whatever it was. So that was my only problem with GoFundMe. And then Cauliflower Alley Club stepped up and donated $1,500 and helped him pay a good chunk of his bills. And then of all people, Chris Jericho, the only WWE star who donated a dime to help Rico. And he sent $3,000. So there's $4,500 of the over 10 grand that we raised just out of Cauliflower Alley and Chris Jericho. And that's when I formed a real good friendship with Chris Jericho. I knew him, had worked on some shows with him, seen him at Six Flags, challenged him to a basketball game. He declined, I should say, because he knew of my reputation. And he went, no. You're not going to add me to the list of the people from the WWE you beat. So that was fine. He showed me some respect for my basketball skills back then. I don't know how much basketball I can play today, but back then I was pretty good. You can ask Mark Henry. You can ask Linda Miles. You can ask, you can't ask Lance Cade. You can ask Jindrak. You can ask all the people that I beat at basketball backstage at Six Flags on WWE shows. But I'm not here to blow my own horn. We're not here to do that. Not here to brag. So where was we going with this question?
Just why you thought they turned their back on him. I just thought that was interesting.
I really have no idea. Well, I do have an idea, but they're wrong about it. I don't want to bring it up here because not everybody knows the reason that some people in WWE turned their back on Rico, but it was all bullshit. I'm sorry. I finally, you knew I was going to slip eventually. But they got a beeper. They can take care of it if they need to beep it. But apparently Danny Davis and Dean Hill had come up with some new reasons that they didn't want to help Rico. And I'm thinking, hey, even if Rico did what you said, none of us are saints. And it ain't nothing that either of you two wouldn't have done if you'd gotten a chance. And number three, he didn't do it anyway. I checked into it, and what he was accused of, he didn't do. And, but I know for a fact that Danny and Dean Hill both would have done it if they could have gotten by with it, but he didn't do it. And, so finally, with some hesitation, Jimmy Cornette finally donated. And he knew that it was going to piss me off real bad if he didn't. And I would have probably ended my friendship with Jimmy then had he not, because Rico is a brother. Rico was one of the top stars we had in this company. Rico would, at a drop of a hat, would go to a hospital and visit a kid, visit a sponsor, whatever was needed out of Rico, stay over and sign autographs for kids, whatever was needed, Rico would do. And I'd be there to do it with him. Cause I was the one that believed he could be a heel. And if you noticed, the only thing he did in the WWE was be a heel. Jim Cornette and Danny Davis says, no, he can't be a heel. He won't be able to do it. He's already been a top babyface. It won't work. Well, he's been out for 6-8 weeks with his injured leg. And I say it will work. Give us 6 weeks, because Rico wanted to do it and I wanted to do it. I was the only one that believed that he could be a heel. Well, wouldn't you know that he became one of the top heels in OVW as well. And Jimmy Cornette and Danny Davis were wrong again. And why? Because I'm the one that hangs with these people. They come to my house every day. They travel up and down the roads with me. I know them. I know what they can do. I know what they can't do. And it's a shame I didn't get more credit, but people are starting to realize now after the fact, hey, Bolin had a lot more to do with this than we realized he did. And he also sold all the advertising on the show that brought all the dollars in, because no one else could do it. And I'll tell you right now, OVW without me would be a whole different place, because they wouldn't have had the advertising dollars to survive in the early going. I added a boatload of advertising dollars once we signed with the WWE, because I had a product I could sell, because their talent would come down here and help us out from time to time. And Jimmy Cornette's connection with the WWE to get those stars here. So we worked as a team, and Danny Davis was a master at putting the TV show together. So Jimmy did what he was good at. I did what I was good at, and Danny did what he was good at, and Rip Rogers was the trainer. So the four of us all had a specialty that we were good at, but my specialty was bringing in the money and also finding out what these people can and cannot do. As far as heels go, or potential heels. Obviously, I didn't travel with the baby faces, and we didn't hang, because that's how the rules were then. But it was my job to elevate those baby faces when we feuded with them. And that's how Lesnar and Orton and Bucci, God, I hate saying that name, Nova, as he was known here, and all
Simon Dean.
You say it, I won't. He wished me dead on Christmas, by the way. I don't know if you know that story.
I do not. I've never heard that story.
We had a bet as to whether or not Donald Trump would win the presidency. And I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I guarantee you he will get nowhere near as many votes as Hillary Clinton. I said, what other shenanigans? Because I knew that Gore had lost the presidency and had more votes. So I wasn't going to fall for that trick. So my bet is that Hillary Clinton will have more votes than Donald Trump. Well, when Donald Trump won, this measly, we had a measly $50 bet, and Bucci tried to get me to pay the $50. I said, well, no, you didn't win the bet. Hillary's got over 3 million more votes than him. The bet was who would get them. No, I bet that he would be president. I said, well, no. And I got witnesses that say that didn't happen. So the witnesses came forward and said, no, that's bull. And I won't say the word again because I've done it once. That's not how it went down. Bolin won the bet. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Apparently Bucci's down on his luck and he needs money real bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to donate, not 50, not 100, but I'm going to donate $150 in free food to the homeless here in the name of Mike Bucci, because I'm not going to give him $50 for a bet he didn't win, but we'll let Bucci do something charitable for a change. I'll put up the money and the food. And let's face it, I was going to trade for it, but either way, the homeless were going to get $150 worth of free food, which they did, and which they also I put out in the name of Bucci. Well, that wasn't good enough for him. He still wanted his $50 and was wanting it real bad. I said, well, now his brother's harping at me. What's his name? Donald. So he from Jersey, he's a cop up there. Well, he's harping at me and talking bad about me on Facebook because I won't pay his brother the $50 that he didn't win. I said, well, obviously, Donald Bucci needs money real bad. He's battling hard for his brother to get the $50. So not only will I pay the $150 in free food for the homeless, but I'll send this loser $50. And apparently he needs the money. Well, it turned out he had just won the lottery. And he had been, I don't know what he won, but he'd been on a cruise or something. I said, well, I'm not going to give this saddlebagger any money. He'd been out on a cruise, won a lottery ticket, so screw all of you. I donated $150 in free food to the homeless. We had witnesses that saw us do it. I got people that manage a couple of restaurants that donated the food that can verify it. And the hell with these guys. So I blocked them and I was done with the Bucci's. And it turns out people that know them real well had named them the Moochies because they said everywhere they go, they mooch food, they mooch toll bridge money, gas money. And they said you can't get a dime out of either one of them. And that they had milked a lot of their good friends. And Rick Ratchet was one of the ones that came forward and announced all this. And he was one of the dear friends of them. So when he came forward and ratted them out, I said, well, my God, you know, and then others came forward. Dennis Corleuz's son, you're probably familiar with that name. Dennis Corleuz's son come out and talk about what dirtbags they are. And then, now this was in November the 8th. Well, I just gotten out of the hospital and had major surgery that day. People did not know if I was going to live or die. He's hounded me the day I get out of the hospital for the $50 he didn't win. The day I got out of the hospital, didn't ask how I was. Didn't ask if I was going to live or die. He wanted his $50. So then it's November the 8th. Well, on Christmas Eve, he texts Stacy, Jimmy's wife, while they're watching TV on Christmas Eve, bitching to her that I didn't pay him his $50 and I hope that fat son of a bitch dies. And I'm thinking, my God, he just wished me dead on Christmas Eve. So Sin shows me what he texted her. And then Jimmy gets hot about it, and bless his heart, he actually defended me on his show. And then he and I did a show, Perry and Bucci, talking about the facts of him and all the stuff that he had done and said and things that weren't very Christian-like. And that he does not like Mexicans and doesn't think they belong here. He said that to us because we were hot that Trump was trying to ban the Muslim ban and was trying to build a wall. And I said, well, you're supporting that? He said, yeah. He said, we don't need those Mexicans here. I said, well, why do you not want them here? I said, they do the work that a lot of us don't want to do and won't do. I just don't want them here. And I looked at him. I said, so once again, now I've decided, well, there's another person I don't think I'll like too well. You know, he doesn't have my belief core. You know, he's, well, that's a shame. I'm an atheist, but I got better morals than half these daggum so-called Christians that I hang with. And I've had to block a few of them. One of them, the preacher that married my son and daughter. His name is Chris. I won't reveal his last name. I've liked him. He's been a dear, dear friend. But the preacher that married my son and daughter supports all this stuff. He supports getting rid of the Muslim ban. He supports building a wall, getting rid of the Mexicans. And I'm not trying to turn this thing too political. And I know even Vince has claimed he's a Trump supporter, and I doubt that. There's no way a good, decent man like Vince Russo would support Donald Trump. I think. No,
I think he supports the office of the president. He didn't vote for either of them. I
know he didn't vote.
Yeah, he didn't
do that.
Yeah,
because I tried to get him to talk politics on a show with me, and he told me he wasn't political. And then all of a sudden, here he supports Donald Trump. So I was, well, okay. My statement is that any decent man with morals who doesn't like his mother's vagina being crotched, that does care about foreigners, that does care about immigrants, that does care about Muslims. Not all of them are bad. If we're going to talk about bad people, we might want to start talking about the people that, what was his name? Jim Jones? I don't think Jim Jones was a Muslim. Can we talk about David Koresh, the Waco of Waco? I'm pretty sure he was a Baptist. And the Unabomber, pretty sure he wasn't Muslim, Mexican, or any of those. No, he's a good old American, good old church boy. So, and then all these soldiers that kill people, and they have issues going on, and they go off and they kill somebody. They got mental health problems that this country does not help. And so I didn't really mean to turn this into anything real political or anything like that, but those are my beliefs. So whether you like that or don't like it, that's cool. You know, do what you want. but that's what I stand for. And I will help anybody who needs help, who can't help themselves. And I'll take foreigners in my home right here today if I thought that it got them out of a bad situation in their own country, and if by opening my doors would improve their life, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I've even got offers out there of the people that want to come here. Hey, if you can get here, I got a sofa for you. I've got a spare bedroom for you. I'll sleep on the couch and you can have my room until you can get on your feet, because some of the hardest working people I know are those people. And if you got a problem with that, then you got a problem with me. And if you don't want to listen to my shows because that's what I believe in, that's cool. I got a lot that do. And so I'm not begging anybody to listen to my show. I just hope you give me a chance and know what I stand for. And I've got about 25,000 people that follow me on social media on all the various forums and accounts that I've got. So that's not the numbers Russo has, but for a guy that basically never left Kentucky, that Vince wanted to point out, for a guy that never left Kentucky, I haven't done too bad for myself. Yes, I've left Kentucky and done a few shows here and there, but as far as being a world traveler and being on worldwide TV, you know what? I guess I have been, because every Cena package that's ever been shown on WWE TV, I've been in. How much time we got? Because I got one other thing I want to cover.
Yeah, and before you get to that, I swear, Vince and I used to review every episode of the Attitude Era, and I hope we get back to finish where we left off every day.
How long ago was that?
We were doing that up until about last year, and then we kind of got off track. But we did from like late '97 through to late '98, and I remember there was this one episode, and it was in Louisville, and like Kane was beating up a bunch of fans outside, and I swear, like it was you. You were one of the fans. Like was that you? Am I right on that? Do you remember anything about that?
What year? Do you remember the year?
It was the 98.
98.
Yeah.
I remember I went to a show in Nashville that Russo was at. That was the first time I met Russo.
Maybe it was Nashville. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, that was me. When Kane was going nuts, that was Lexington.
Okay, Lexington. Yeah, I knew it was somewhere around there. Yeah.
He asked me, a friend of mine named Chris Turner, who I took there, and a friend named, God dang it, he managed Steak and Shake here at the time, and I was getting free Steak and Shake. And boy, when I got them on Raw, they freaked. So yeah, we were walking down, and we walked up, and my friends walked up and asked Kane for an autograph.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That turned south in a hurry. You noticed who got the hell out of Dodge, didn't you?
Yeah.
I left.
Yeah.
They stood and took the choke slams and got beat up. And one of the other guys that got choke slammed there went on to be a star in the WWE and TNA was Doug Basham, the guy that got slammed under the back of the truck bed.
Yeah.
Well, that was the security guy. Well, that was Doug Basham.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I never noticed that.
Yeah, that was Doug. And yeah, I can't believe you knew that was me. What about that gave it away that was me? Because it was really, but you know what? Every friend I had saw it and knew it was me. I looked at it and I couldn't tell it was me.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but
what about that distant video was so obvious that was me?
I remember when we started going through it, I really started.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a fun night. Because when I got to tell them they were going to get to be in a bit with Kane, but we wouldn't tell them what he was going to do. We just said he will handle it. You just go along and don't put up too much of a fight.
Yeah,
because it's going to go south if you do.
Yeah.
And they had no clue. So when the guy got picked up by the neck, Trey, his name was Trey. He was the manager at Steak and Shake. When Kane picked him up by the neck, held him against the wall, he legit pissed his pants. He thought it was over, that we'd set him up and Kane was going to mess him up. And then the other guy got off pretty easy, Chris Turner. And then Doug Basham, of course, he knew what was going to happen. He had to take a choke slam and do a truck bed. But man, that blows me. I thought you meant there was a fight outside the ring and you saw me in the crowd. But
yeah, no, it was a segment outside the arena.
What was idiotic about that? The show's going on, but me and my friends are out in the parking lot hanging around, waiting for wrestlers to come out. And then, of all people, Kane comes out at the halfway mark of Raw. So that was the ridiculous part of it. Why in the hell would me and my friends be in the parking lot at the midway mark of the show? But there we are. So, yeah, that was fun. And not only was it fun for me, because I think it was the first time that I'd actually been on Raw, but it was so fun for two, and let's call them what they were. They're my little Mark friends who were just thrilled to be in the building. And we got them good seats. I think we were in the front row of the lower level. And then I come and get them and tell them, hey, Jimmy has just asked if you guys would like to be in a bit outside with Kane. and they lost their minds. And it was just such a thrill to get to do that for them. And it was fun for me too. So I'm glad you brought that up. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I wish I could remember exactly what episode it was.
I don't know. I wish you knew. I've got it on DVD somewhere. It might even be on my best of DVD, the 6-hour. Where is it at? Hang on here. We got to get plugs in here eventually.
Yeah, let's get the plugs in. Looks like we got is that Maya outside the window?
Maya is outside the window, the little creeper. She's outside the window messing with the dog. You can see her outside the window.
Yeah.
Maya, you're not hiding very well. You might as well come on in. The gig is up. Yeah. We've already buried you thoroughly on this show. So Maya did make an appearance on the show. You got to. Could you hear her on the mic?
Yeah. She said she wasn't coming in.
All right, I told him you had a date with your. This guy's cute. This is Jeff Lame. This is Jeff Lame. He's the lame host for the BROLIN Alley. Oh, wait till you. Did you see the entrance I sent you for the show? No. Oh my God, it's awesome. One of the other girls that has a segment on these shows, she made it for us. It is awesome. Back to plugs. Go away, Maya. This is the dinner with the buffet with Bolin 2. This is features me and Jim Cornette. Buffet with Bolin 1 features me and Jim Cornette. Yeah, I'm still selling them. I'm not a fool. But if you want to see me and Jimmy Cornette together, you better get these because that's going to be about the last of it. She just stole my dog. Holy crap. The Bolin Alley. This is the first 5 years of the Bolin Alley, and I sell these. There's roughly about 100 shows on here. Your source has to play MP3 style CDs or DVDs. I record them on DVDs and MP3. And then, of course, the back of the cover, the king of podcasts, too. I think we've established that here tonight. Another cover. This is a dual cover of me and Jimmy. And you open it. I'm on one side. He's on the other. We used to have Jimmy sign his side. That won't be happening anymore either. So there's that. A movie that I was in, The Ultimate Deathmatch 2. Kevin Nash was in this movie. April Hunter. See if I see any other names here. Raven was in it. I really loved working with Raven. He was pretty cool. And the Kid Cash was in it. The Sandman, he was in it. A lot of big stars, but you see who got the biggest picture of everybody in this movie.
Yes, your name's nice and big on there, too.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how that happened. I stole the movie, and Jimmy Cornette said it was petty theft. Jealousy once again. And then there's a decade of BS, and this is 6 hours of my best stuff. And this is the DVD. I think that Kane bit is on. There's a bit on there with me and Bobby Heenan that I just cherish. I loved getting to work an angle with Bobby Heenan. We never rehearsed one word of what happened in the ring, and it was so funny and so good. And yes, I'll say it. It was good and it was funny. Some bits on there with me and Jerry Lawler. God, I can't remember them all, but there's 6 hours worth of stuff on here. And I sell all my DVD. Oh, and I also have a dual disc set I sell of the best of Bolin and Cena. It's called My Life, Our Life, and the Rest of Our Life, because I stole that from his name of his show, My Life, his DVD that I'm also on that WWE produced and never paid me a penny for. So I found a way to make money with it. And it's 8 hours worth of me and John Cena and Rico Constantino from the beginning till the end, where me and John Cena have a loser leave town match on OVW television. Jim Ross did the commentary the week before setting this up, and special referee Sean O'Hare, God rest his soul, for those of you that do that. And that was that's a lot of fun, because there's a lot of big names in the business that can't say that they beat John Cena, Jerry the King Lawler, Mark Henry, The Big Show. Who else have I beat? They figured it out that I'd beaten the NWA champion, which was Rob Conway. I beat the WWE champion, which was John Cena. I beat the AWA champion, which was Jerry Lawler. And I beat the ECW champion, which was Mark Henry. Name another manager in the history of wrestling who's done that. And may I remind you, my matches were just as real as anything that you're going to see on Raw or SmackDown tonight or tomorrow.
Now, did you beat the WCW champion Vince Russo?
He won't fight me. If he don't show up next week, I tell you what I will do. I'll put up my, which title will I put up? I'll put up my AWA title that I beat Jerry Lawler for against his WCW title. And you're going to put us in a 4-foot ring. That way I can catch him because I know he's going to try and run from me. And we'll see what happens when I used to weigh 569 pounds. I now weigh 429 as of today. But we'll see what the 121-pound Vince Russo can do when the 429-pound Kenny StarMaker Bolin gets a hold of him and shakes him like a rag doll and convinces him maybe that he should show up for the next show or there's going to be some trouble. And let me tell you something, Vince. You don't want any trouble with me. I know where you live. Oh, well, we've already gone through that once before with somebody else. So I won't make that threat. So why don't we just be friends and you show up at the next show and no one's got to file any EPOs and no one's got to hide from anybody. There don't have to be any fights with a guy with $5 grand in his pocket or anything. We'll just settle this like men and like gentlemen, and you and I will meet here in 2 weeks. What's the date there, Lane?
27th.
The 27th.
September 27th.
We'll meet here the 27th like men and like gentlemen, and you can explain to the people why you shunned me. How much time we got?
Whenever you're ready, we can wrap her up.
Why you shunned me, why you didn't show up, why you slapped me in the face and act like people outside the state of Kentucky don't know who I am, and why you ain't here to admit to the people that I'm going to be the big dog on this network and I'm going to be getting all the ratings. And no offense to Vito. No offense to Miss Chantel. Who else is on here? Let's name them right now. Let's give them all a plug.
We got Rue.
Most famous they ever get.
Disco Inferno. Of course,
we got me, you idiot. They all know they got me. We don't have to point.
No, I said Rue. Rue with an R. Rue. Rue does some comedy. Does our Impact reviews.
He thinks he's funny, huh?
Yep. We got Disco Inferno.
He's done. I forgot about Inferno.
Yep.
I hear he's a good guy. I hear he's pretty funny too.
We have.
I hear he might even
show, guys.
I hear he might even be as entertaining as me. Is that true?
It's close. It's close.
It's close. Well, all right. Well, it looks like I got a battle on my hands there. I forgot about Inferno. Man, I might have to work harder than I thought I was going to have to.
Yep.
But and let's me and the Inferno man. I'm sure he's a man of integrity. I'm sure he'll show up if invited. He'll come here and be on my show, or I'll be happy to go over and do his. But he only does shows with Vince Russo, right?
He's also on Conan's show. He's on Conan's show.
Is Conan on this network too?
No, Conan's on the Jericho network on Podcast One.
Well, I just did Jericho's show with Cornette, but it hasn't aired yet. They might be trying to figure out a way to edit me out of that show. I don't know. Now, Jericho's still friends with me. He's still following me on Twitter. I did notice there was one guy that's friends with Cornette who ordered a crown from his brother. And I noticed today that even though I didn't order a crown from his brother. Jerry Lawler sent me that crown. Let me correct that. But I ordered a crown from his brother for a dear friend of mine. And he quit following me, all because of this riff with me and Cornette. And I've never said a negative word about this guy. And I noticed today I'm not being followed anymore. But sometimes I notice that I look down and I'm not following Russo. Well, I didn't unfollow him. I wasn't following Stone Cold Steve Austin, who follows me. And I didn't unfollow him. So maybe it was an accident. Maybe, but Jim Cornette being blocked on social media was not an accident. I'll clear that up right now.
So where can they get these DVDs and your book and all that stuff?
It's real easy. Maya Doodle created me a little store that you can go to and see everything that I've got. The Beats by Bolin headphones, the Beats by Bolin pill, the Bolin media microphones, the DVDs. Hang on. I've got one other thing we forgot to plug. My book. The book, Probably Screwed You Too, the mostly true stories of Kenny StarMaker Bolin. You can be rest assured that most of the stories in this book are true. You can't ask for much more than that. And so you can get that from me signed. I used to have Jim Cornette sign those too because there's a lot of stories about him in here. Well, there's only 2 of those books left. We're probably going to sell those for like $1,000 because apparently we're not going to be seeing Jimmy on old Global or TNA anymore either. So his appearances visually might be few and far between here coming up. I don't know. Who knows what Jimmy's going to do? He might be on Raw next week. Who knows? Jimmy will go where the dollar is, I'm sure. So you got my book, you got my DVDs, you got the Beats by Bolin media items. There are just so many to name. Contact my inbox if you're interested in any of the merchandise I've got. I don't shove it on anybody. If you want it, buy it. If you don't. I mean, obviously, every single purchase y'all make helps me a lot, helps me live, helps me breathe air, helps me feed my kids and me. And they're out there saying, well, you've eaten enough. You better not be saying that. because I will hunt you down individually, come to your home, and bitch slap each and every one of you if you call me fat after I've lost 144 pounds. I don't take too kindly to being called fat. You call me the king. That's why there's a crown hanging on that microphone. I'm the king of podcast, and soon I'm going to be king of the Realm Network, and soon I'm going to be king of Podcast One, because if Vince Russo is on Podcast One, I'm going to be on Podcast One. You can mark my word on that. And on that, Mr. Lame, I did say good day.